This may sound strange, but the Vedic tradition tells us that all souls are ultimately feminine or prakrti dependent energy. Only Supreme Spirit or God is the independent masculine puruṣa. Now, this is very important. If we don't understand that ultimately we are all prakrti and that we are only temporarily taking on this role of the puruṣa or the masculine, then we really cannot understand how the masculine feminine energies are working within this world. All masculinity exhibited by individual souls is a temporary functional role. It's a role we're playing. It is not our core nature. Our core nature is as feminine, dependent beings. When we understand this, we can understand that there is no need to deconstruct gender roles. No one person is always in the masculine puruṣa or always in the feminine prakrti role. There are different layers to our being. There are different activities that we perform. Ultimately, we're all prakrti feminine, but we take on the role of the puruṣa or the masculine at different times, at different places. A female teacher is in the puruṣa position of the caretaker, of the protector and provider. The students, whether they're boys, girls, doesn't matter. They're in the prakrti position. They're taking shelter of that teacher. A mother is the provider for her child. She's in the puruṣa position, the one giving protection, giving provision. And the child, whatever gender it is in the prakrti position. We see that in all cultures of the world, when they're wanting to take the older boys and give them that understanding of what it means to be in the puruṣa position, almost all cultures will separate the boys from their mother, because in relation to their mother, they're prakrti, they're dependent feminine energy. And then for them to develop that role of the puruṣa, of the protector, of the provider, of the caretaker, they have to be separated from the mother. They'll go off with the men and develop that, take on that role, and then become leaders of their own families and their own communities. In the book, we give the example of George Washington compared to Napoleon. George Washington was the head of the army. He defeated the British, and then after the war, he decided to retire peacefully. Of course, everybody else said, no, we want you to become the president. So he was president for 2 terms. After that, he wrote to Congress and he said, I don't want to be considered for that position. He resigned. Now, it's very clear, if we look through this lens of prakrti puruṣa, that Washington understood that ultimately his identity was as the prakrti. He was a citizen, first and foremost. He wrote in that letter, I'm a citizen who's taking the role of the executive government. His identity was as the prakrti. He was a citizen. His role for some time was as the puruṣa, but then he realized, let somebody else take a role. They can be the puruṣa. They can be the caretaker of the people for some period of time. Now, if we contrast that with Napoleon, his famous saying was, I am the revolution. I am France. I am the French Revolution. He identified as the emperor. And we see that eventually he had to be exiled to St. Helena. So like this through history, we can see multiple examples of dictators who had that identity. I am the puruṣa. I am the controller. And generally it doesn't end well for them. So like this, all of us have this same challenge to understand that ultimately we are dependent beings. We are prakrti, we're energy of the Supreme Spirit, we're energy of the Lord. And whenever we take this puruṣa position, whenever we take the position of the caretaker, of setting things up, of looking after people, providing for people, that's a temporary functional role that we take on. It's not actually our core identity. This is very important. Without this understanding, we can't truly understand how the masculine, feminine, how the puruṣa, the prakrti, are interacting in the world, and will become confused, thinking that we are actually the puruṣa when actually we're the prakrti, or vice versa. So true leadership means fulfilling the duties of the masculine role with dignity, but always remembering that ultimately we are feminine, prakrti, dependent energy of the Supreme. If this perspective changed how you approach your role, it's just the beginning. The full map is in the book. Get your free 6 Principles Practical Toolkit in the link below and subscribe to this channel for the next chapter.